podcast is proud to be sponsored by Land Trust Title Services, your partners for results. Well, hello, this is Steve Kemp with the People Not Titles podcast, and I am so pleased today to be with real estate attorney Joe Zamora from Zamora Law Offices. And Joe, thanks for being a part of it. Happy New Year's. This is coming right fresh out of the gate here.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Joe, it's been, first off, I just want to express from Land Trust just how we appreciate your partnership and just, how we appreciate all the business that we've been able to do over 2023. And we don't take it lightly that you've placed your trust in us for some of your business. And so I just want to say thank you for that.
No, not a problem. I love the customer service that's provided by Land Trust. So.
Awesome. So Joe, let's talk about when you rolled out of the crib, was your thought to be a real estate attorney?
Actually, no. There was actually no thought to be an attorney at all. Even though my uncle at that time was going down the path to become an attorney in Guatemala, my thought was to become an architect. I like structure, I like drawing, and then in high school I took a couple of drafting classes, and it sparked up even more that interest.
Interesting. And so how far did that go for you?
High school. That's where it ended. Because once I went into college and I took our history course, it was the end of it. Learning the history of art and dimensions, and it was a lot more complicated than I anticipated, and I learned that my brain doesn't work that way.
Okay.
It's not the type of personality and person that I am, so it switched it up a little bit.
So you got into college. Where'd you go to school?
UIC.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you went to college thinking, okay, I'm going to learn about this, and this is going to be my career. And then how far did you get when you said no?
That was, I believe, into my second year that I noticed that that path was not the right one for me. And
wow, that's it. A lot of times people make an investment into a certain path, or they make some kind of bold declaration as a high school person, like I'm going to do this, I'm going to be that, and they're afraid to make a change then. Mm-hmm. So bravo to you for having the self-awareness to say this isn't going to be for me. So then what did you say to yourself, or would you just kind of go general at that point?
So I went general, then I just started testing out the waters, and I fell into economics.
Okay.
Economics just seemed easier for me, the way my brain works,
money,
supply,
finances.
demand. It's simple for me.
Yeah.
And then I realized mathematics was very easy for me when I was in high school, so it just kind of flowed with each other, going from high school to college into economics. And at some point, you determine, well, what are you going to do with this? And I started realizing you need also a degree in financing, which I didn't dive into. So what else can I use with that analytical thinking?
Okay.
Yeah.
So you take, and so then you decided, did you decide real estate law at that time?
No. So I decided that becoming an attorney was interesting, and possibly of some interest for me. Obviously, again, my uncle was an attorney.
What aspects of it did you like think about that were going to be interesting?
So, in the Hispanic culture, we like to listen to our parents a lot. Mm-hmm. So what it came about was my mom actually indicated one time on a Saturday afternoon, she was like, "You should go to law school and become an attorney. Since you like to argue a lot, you like to prove your point," right? That's what she was trying to say.
Yeah.
And she says, "And your uncle's an attorney too." So I decided to apply for jobs at law offices to see if it was interesting enough for me to proceed. And so that's how I started, and then I went on to law school.
Wow. So, I think it's interesting as parents, right, how we need to think about the words that we say to our kids and how they impact, they make an impact. So that's great. So you were good at arguing your points.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of my cousin Vinny.
Exactly.
That's why they were like, let's get Vinny, man. He's like, no, I see it. It's blue. It's red. It's whatever. Okay, so you go to law school, and even then, as you're, now you're did you go to work for a law office?
Yes. Before law school, I went to go work for a law office, and they did about 40% at that time real estate, and then 60% traffic real estate. from the areas that I worked in, there was another attorney doing family law 100%, but that's not where I worked. So I dabbed and touched on real estate. And as an assistant, I don't want to do real estate. That's what I learned.
Because it's a lot of admin, right? It's just a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it just didn't seem appealing to me when I was an assistant.
Sure.
And then at some point in law school, it just changed for me, because you take a couple classes, you start learning about it, and then when you come back out and you actually are in the practice of law, you're like, wow, this is not that it's easy. It's just no litigation. It's smooth. You're dealing with a few individuals in a transaction, and
you're all trying to get to the same place.
Same goal, exactly.
Yeah.
Versus like if you do litigation in criminal law, which is what I also do, you're on opposing sides.
Yes.
Right?
All
You
the
want
time.
to win.
Yeah.
And you want to beat the other side, right? To some respect.
Yeah, on behalf of your client.
Exactly. Even though it's the same aspect in real estate, but the end goal is always the same, right? And it's always a consensus. If both sides are not 100% happy, then you had a good transaction, right? The seller had to give, the buyer had to give, but you're both meeting at the same goal, at the same end point, which is to have the transaction occur.
Awesome. And so you got out of college. Did you start your own firm right away, or did you go to work for
No, I started working at the law office where I used to work as an assistant.
Okay.
So to get my feet wet, to get some knowledge, some experience, and he was looking for an attorney right away, so it made it easier.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then when did you branch off on your own?
So I went off on my own June 1st, 2019.
Okay.
6 months prior to COVID.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, Joe, when you're going through college, you made the switch, you're going into law school. Were there times that you doubted your direction?
Yeah, every semester. Every semester you doubted.
Okay.
There's individuals that say, I want to be an attorney from as long as they can remember. And they usually tend to follow those paths. I was never like that. I was like, I'm more trying to figure out who I was, understanding my strengths, but not necessarily saying, I want to be an attorney. So yeah, every single semester you try to understand if this is the right course of action, because then you start realizing, well, I'm taking XYZ amount of loans. Am I going to make enough money to cover it? Am I going to be happy with the things that I'm doing? And then you start to really fine-tune what you want to do and really say, I've gone through this semester, I've gone through these semesters. This is something that I can achieve, and you keep on...
You're buying in essence, right?
Yeah, you overcome your own fears, your own self-doubt.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so then you're working for someone, and are there any other entrepreneurs in your family?
In my immediate family, no.
Okay, so going out into business for yourself is a whole nother animal, right? So now you have your law degree, you got that to wrestle with, and you have to be getting clients, but now you're off on your own. What were some of the thoughts of going into business for yourself? What inspired you to do that?
So control.
Okay.
One, control, money management, and at some point, some individuals are okay with working for somebody, right? Clock in 1 hour, leave in another, and be okay with it. I wasn't necessarily...
Someone else worries about the big details.
All of the big picture. Yeah, you just show up and do it. Yeah. That was not me.
Yep.
And I think my old boss knew that from the moment I started with him as an assistant. He was like, if you would have just gone to this school or that school, you would have been, somewhere else. So I always knew that I wasn't just going to be working for someone. I had to take control over my own life, right? And that aspect is the reason I decided to go on my own, with actually $0 money in my account.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So you don't
jump
have
on the deep end.
Wow. So was your old boss your mentor?
Yes, he was actually.
And did he? So talk about that relationship, the mentor relationship.
So obviously, having a good base is knowledgeable. Having someone that can teach you not only the law part you can learn just by working at any firm, but also learning the business, right? The relationship with clientele. Understanding that certain situations are tense, for example, when you're dealing with a client who has to deal with a murder case, and trying to explain to them the amount of money that they have to pay for that representation. It's an emotional process that deals with the economic, but you still have to also touch base with them on the human aspect. And that was something that was very good, that you don't learn in law school. You don't learn the business of law. You learn the theory of law,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
the best way to put it. You learn this is what the law says, this is the points you have to prove, but how do you actually get to getting that case?
Yeah.
That business aspect is what I learned from him. And then when I was transitioning out, he gave me a few pointers, you know.
So he wasn't offended, wasn't possessive.
You know, you always don't ever want to lose your best employee or
Yeah,
a good
yeah,
employee
yeah.
or any employee that you depend on.
Right.
But if the ones that you know that are
It's
going to
inevitable.
grow, they're going to grow and they're going to leave.
Yeah.
You know, have your reserves,
Mm-hmm.
right? Get good insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you register with the appropriate state government entities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just small pointers that you start learning that you appreciate, because those small things can really make or break you.
You know, there's a saying, and I think entrepreneurs face this, that says that your plans are never able to withstand the cold facts of reality. In that, you make all the plans, you have all the T's crossed and I's dotted, but then reality hits and you have to actually get going. Did you face that when you first started your business, or did things go pretty smooth for you?
So yes, they were smooth, but you always have bumps, right? And it's just like driving a car, right? You're going to have a bump. How do you adjust for that bump in the road, that deviation, that stalled car, right? The whole trip is smooth, but you have those minor bumps. One of them was just having an office. Do you determine, do you want to have a brick and mortar or not? And depending on the type of practice that you have, you may need a brick and mortar and you may not. But then, you decide you want a brick and mortar. What's the next hurdle? Can you afford it? You know, and it goes back to that aspect of the business. Can you actually make decisive decisions to grow your business for what it would be, not just the practice of law? Actually, I had to wait 6 months before I had my own office because that's what was necessary.
You have to be patient, right?
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
Build and grow and
Exactly.
save or whatever.
Yeah.
Build your coffers.
Exactly.
Excellent.
Patience brings growth, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Joe, now are you one in your firm? Do you have a staff as well?
So right now I currently have 3 secretaries. Yes, I'm
Okay.
the only attorney. The way that I do it is my secretaries do secretary work. I do legal work.
Great.
And the legal work is based on, would you want the attorney to handle it versus having a paralegal handle it? There are a lot of offices out there that have their own structure. That's the way that I do things. So I touch base with all my secretaries.
So, Joe, that's a big step, by the way. There's a lot of attorneys that have been in business for 30 years and never hire admin or never, and so they're out in the field in the daytime and doing stuff at night, 3 or 4 in the morning or whatever it is. And so bravo to you. I know what that step is as an entrepreneur, to bring in that first employee. Now you have a mouth to feed, so to speak, and then the next one, and now you're not just going and getting work for yourself, but you're going to get work for your team.
Exactly.
How's that pressure for you?
It is stressful, especially right now during the quote-unquote slow season.
Yeah, the lean months.
Right, you have to think about what can you do to bring in more business. And the one benefit that I did learn from my old law office and my mentor was never 100% stick to something. Always have your door open for other opportunities. That's why I also do criminal law, traffic. We also handle divorces and family law cases, simple estate planning. So we dab in a little bit of stuff. A large majority of my practice is real estate, about 85% of it. So it's not that I don't do real estate. I focus on real estate.
100%.
But we also focus on other areas because there is a slow turn, right? There is a slow season, and you have to be able to keep the lights on, right?
Yeah, and there is some, many large law firms began with general practice, and then all of a sudden you're branching off. I got my real estate division, I got my family division, I got my criminal division or estate planning. Do you, in terms of the real estate piece of it, it's complementary too, right, to your family and the traffic or whatever, because people who buy homes also get tickets or whatever it is, or they're going through divorce, and next thing you know they need to sell a home. So that provides a little bit more of a holistic opportunity for relationship for your clients.
It's that cross-selling, right?
Yes.
At the closing table. Don't worry, if you need anything, I'm available. I do criminal, traffic, family law, simple estate planning. You want to add your wife? Don't worry, give me a call 6 months from now. Let's add your wife to the deed. From there on, what is the estate planning? What are you going to do if something happens to you in the future and you pass? Let's get that all sorted out. I like to consider it as a one-stop shop, right?
Yeah. And once you establish trust, they can trust you for several areas of expertise.
Yeah. And then they come back to you several years down the road.
Joe, I want to talk about why. Let's get into the specifics of the real estate practice and why. What is the Zamora brand like? What can an agent, when an agent picks you, refers you business, what can they expect from you?
You will talk to me. You will not speak with just a secretary.
Okay.
My secretaries handle emails, and they will pick up phone calls. Every single client and agent of mine has my cell phone number. So I'm probably getting text messages and phone calls right now as
we gotta hurry up and
So because I make myself accessible,
and that's important to an agent.
Many people would say, well, then that means that you're going to take away from your work. Well, my work is that communication. My work is that building in the relationship.
Yeah.
Once that agent starts realizing that that communication exists, it actually tends to take away from the communication that they felt that they needed, because they now can trust the relationship is actually going to be there, and it's actually that the work's going to get done, right? So they'll shoot me a text. A few minutes later, an email goes out, right? Or the email went out earlier. Yes, we sent out an email earlier. There's that assurance that the communication is directly with the individual that you expect to communicate with the attorney. The biggest complaint, one of the two biggest complaints that come through to the ARDC, which is the Attorney Registration Disciplinary Commission, with regards to attorneys are money and communication.
Wow.
So one of my main pillars within my office is communication. Within the first 5 days of a real estate transaction, you're at least getting 3 emails from my office. Introduction, an email asking if there's missing information, and then my engagement letter, right? At least 3. That doesn't take into account the buyer's attorney review letter, seller's attorney review letter, or any inspection request that may need to be done within the first 5 days. Those are the 3 things that you get: 3 emails, information.
So you have a process and a system.
There is.
Plus personal communication.
Correct.
Awesome. What about negotiation? Would you consider yourself a good negotiator? Is that necessary even in your spot, Joe?
I think it depends on which side you're on in the transaction, right?
Yeah.
And also depends on what you're asking for, right? Negotiation depends on the scope of the negotiations, right? You can ask for $1 million. Your transaction costs, your house costs $250,000. You're not going to get $1 million. That's unreasonable negotiation. But your negotiation is also based on and restricted on the terms of the contract, right? So
otherwise, you can violate the contract.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
For example, I just saw an email on my way here from an attorney. The property reappraised in 2013, right? Sorry, 2023, for $70,000 over what the tax assessment was. So that means that your taxes are going to go up. Well, the negotiation is going to start happening. We're going to have to renegotiate these because my client is not going to be obligated to pay for your client's taxes during the year of 2023.
Right.
That's your client's obligations. So
you didn't live there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why should my client pay for
Right, so that's protecting the client.
Exactly.
And
that's the essence of the negotiations. Exactly.
Yes.
So that's the other thing. I don't just do something for the deal to get finalized. I can just say yes to everything and move on.
Right.
I can get it done really quick. But is that benefiting the client? At the end of the day, the one person that they're going to remember is the attorney. The attorney, you didn't help me with this, and they're going to always blame the attorney. So you do the negotiations, and at the end of the day, you have to leave it back to the client. You can only do so much.
That's great. Joe, you make a great point that, Chicago, the Collier counties are an attorney area for real estate. And after seeing how real estate is done across the country, Wisconsin, Indiana, that kind of thing, I really... Hey, thanks for listening to the People, Not Titles podcast. We are brought to you by our great sponsors, Land Trust Title Services, your partners for results. I really believe that the clients are benefiting from attorney involvement here in Chicagoland, from a risk standpoint, from better deals, from good counsel, all those kind of things. So we are a big fan of the attorney agency program. And the fact, I think it's really beneficial to the market that there are now dedicated law professionals that are involved in the real estate transaction, not just here and there like it used to be, but really get involved. So bravo to you for that.
No, and even on the title side, right?
Yeah.
There's less claims against title
100%.
when attorneys are involved because we're
100%.
looking at it. We actually know the issues that can arise.
As opposed to everyone just, we know, generally speaking, real estate agents,
Exactly.
of course they protect their clients' best interest, but everyone wants to get to the closing table, and the attorney's job is really to say, whoa, hold on, everybody.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that everyone is getting what they think they're getting.
Exactly.
So, bravo to you.
Yeah, I currently have a closing outside of the Chicagoland area, and I'm like, where are my HOA documents? What are you talking about? If you're asking for this, we're just going to cancel. Well, it's part of the contract. Here's the statute. I'm sorry that you're not aware of what you are expected to do. You decided not to use an attorney on the seller side. This is why you should use an attorney. Give me my HOA documents. Within 3 days, I got the HOA documents.
Right. Yeah, and then you can look in there and find out: is there anything onerous? Anything going to be? Is there an assessment coming up or whatever it is?
Simple, paid assessment letter. Yeah. Right. The document that you needed in order to transfer the ownership from one person to another with regards to the association. This listing agent thought that it wasn't something that we were supposed to get.
Unbelievable.
On the title side, that's important though, right?
100%.
This is why we need attorneys in real estate transactions.
No doubt. So Joe, let's talk. Let's talk about, do you have any daily routines that you do just as a professional? Let's put law aside. Are there things that you do in terms of self-improvement to build and grow? Any staples in your life or cornerstone activities?
So currently, I'm trying to incorporate more activity.
Okay.
Not just like going to the gym or walking, but actually physical activity. Because mental health is super important. One of the things that actually, the negatives of being an attorney is your deterioration in your mental health. What happens is you enter into abuse. A majority is alcohol abuse. So in order to keep sharp for myself, in order to be healthy for my practice, is I want to go out there and be more active. And so I started taking up pickleball.
Okay.
Actually with a representative from Land Trust Title.
All right.
We try to go out there as often as I can just to stay alert, stay focused, stay on my toes, because when you're out there being physical, it keeps you focused. And that's what you need for any law practice, any profession. You want to stay focused.
Great. So pickleball's a new thing for
That's
you.
it.
And how are you? Are you and you play with Anya, one of our great reps.
Yeah.
So how is she? Is she?
She's great.
Yeah.
She got me into it. I beat her a couple of times, but she tries to come back.
She called me and let me know how she lets you win, just so you'll be working with her.
She has told me. I see it out there.
Yeah. Well, let's talk, Joe, just about what your plan for your future for your firm. Sure. Besides just delivering, excellent customer service like you're doing, and serving agents. What's your hope? Looking forward 3-4 years down the road.
So we talked about that. Most big offices, general practice, and then they focus onto other areas. I would like to do something of that nature, where we have specific attorneys, 1, 2, 3, that can just dive into specific areas. Like have one of my attorneys focus on criminal, the other one in real estate in conjunction with me, as well as other areas in the law, to try to really grow and service the community that we work with, right? DuPage County, Cook County, and the surrounding areas. Just having a more well-rounded attorney's office where anyone can come to our office and they will get help in any area of law that they deserve and desire. Nothing too big, but just enough to sustain and keep us all afloat and really have us as a respectable name in our local area.
And so what you're saying is you'd like to bring a protege on, or one or two or maybe three over the course of the next few years. Yeah. So building a great practice.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so in terms of your outlook on real estate for 2024, is there anything that you're seeing, Joe, or that you're just hearing on the street that you can offer to our listeners at this point?
So the one thing that I think is missed and has been missed all of last year is don't focus too much on what the TV says, right? There's always an agenda, everything on TV. Programming, exactly. We've been told and we've been fed a lot of misinformation. I don't even want to say bad information because it's just not complete information. I saw a report says, oh my God, the interest rates have doubled in the last 3 years. But they're not taking into account the historic nature of interest rates, right, in the last 15, 20 years.
They're still relatively low if we look at it in that standpoint.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because you can't just look at anything in history within the 2 years. Even, for example, stocks, you look at them in 10-year periods, right? And how they're increasing or decreasing within 10-year periods. Because it gives you a better trend. You have to look at trends in larger increments. So don't be fed by what the TV says. Go to your professionals. Go to your experts. If you have the ability to purchase, because that opportunity may not come again. I tell my son, opportunities come once in a lifetime. Take advantage.
Yeah.
Because the next opportunity will come, and are you prepared for that second one? You may not, because you didn't accept the first one. So don't focus on what the TV is telling you.
Yeah, there are, I see that too, Joe. Every day you run into, there's buyers and sellers. You see people buying and selling homes all the time, so it's being done. You see investors saying, I'm making money in real estate now. This is the best time. So I would just say that don't let fear keep you out of the market, because you can't get anywhere with fear.
I'll give you a great example. At the beginning of COVID, everyone stopped spending money. And what happened? In the stocks, outside of real estate, in the stocks started going down. That's when you actually should have thrown more money into it.
100%.
Because eventually they go up. Everything goes in a cycle. It depreciates, then it appreciates. So if you would have thrown in money in the stocks in March, like I did, of 2020, you would probably have doubled or tripled your money by now. If you do the same in real estate, this is the time when everyone's scared. That's when you should dive right into it. Buy when you can, because when the opportunity comes to sell, you will have something more profitable than what you bought.
Great.
Don't be scared.
Don't be scared. Well, Joe, we'll end on that. I want to just say thank you, Joe, for just the work that you do in the community.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you spending time with our listeners today.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. People Not Titles signing off with Joe Zamora. Thank you very much. All right, buddy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, no problem.
That's great.
All right.
We'll get this out there, and you will get you'll get these snippets and vignettes, and you can put it on it'll be on our website and all that kind of stuff.
Excellent.
So, yeah. Thank you, man. Hey, thanks for listening to the People Not Titles podcast. We are proudly sponsored by Land Trust Title Services. If you enjoyed the podcast, please hit the like button, please subscribe, and we'd love it if you'd share our podcast with your friends. Thanks a lot.